welcome Julio to the How Do You Do That podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for having me.
This is the first one where we'll be sharing a whiskey as we have the conversation. So cheers.
Cheers.
All right, so Julio, I met you through Brittany.
Yeah, through Brittany at a concert over a year ago.
Yeah, has it really been a year?
Yeah, because it was my birthday.
Oh my gosh, yeah, your birthday's coming up again, right?
It is.
Amazing. Yeah, so that's been one of my favorite parts about Austin is just the community and the willingness of folks to meet new people. And I don't know, it's just such a joy. You meet one person and another person, and to me it feels like Austin has this it feels like a city of transplants. I don't know if you feel that way, but where because people aren't as established, they're very willing to meet new people, but you're also just so welcoming. I felt like the first time I met you, I had known you for years.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's what I told Brittany. Oh my God, it feels like family being with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I wonder how they're doing, and I'll randomly text you. And
yeah.
So I'm so glad we met. And yeah, I agree with Austin. Austin's the same way with, it feels like a family. There's a bunch of, random people you'll meet, and then somehow they know people that and then it's like a big circle.
Yeah, and it just continues to grow, which I think is the fun part of it as well.
Definitely.
You started as a paramedic, you're now a firefighter, but you also open ketamine clinics. Is that right?
Right. So whenever, what was it, about 12 years ago, I decided to go to the fire academy. I weighed 138 pounds. I was small.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how much I weigh. I'm pretty small.
But I'm not as tall as you. So I was tiny. And then once I finished fire academy, I didn't go the fire route. And I actually worked at the hospital for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I was doing. And I was home every day too. But then I wanted something for retirement. I wanted something more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to fire, got my paramedic, and have been doing that for quite a little while. And then I met one of the physicians that I worked with at the hospital, wanted to open a clinic. So him and I got in contact and we got it done. From then we helped someone else open one, and I recently opened one in October in Harker Heights.
Oh my God.
We are the first clinic in Bell County, which is amazing. Our goal is to help veterans, first responders, get that kind of service because they don't there's a lot of, a lot of help that they're not getting, and it takes a long time for them to get an appointment. So if we can offer our services, that's mainly why we're there. We're not really there to make a dollar.
Right. It sounds like y'all are really mission driven.
Yeah. So my business partner is a person whose dad was in the military. So she has great admiration, and her and I clicked about 4 or 5 years ago. And yeah, that was our goal. We were we're going to do this together.
Mm-hmm.
And one day she's like, let's do it. I said, okay. So yeah, I had everything done, and I think we opened doors within a month and a half.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You make things sound way too easy. So let me backtrack a little bit. So were you someone that grew up who had always wanted to be a firefighter, or how does one decide that I'm going to go to the fire academy?
I knew when I was 8.
You knew when you were 8?
When I was 8, I lived in Compton in California,
mm-hmm.
and the house across the street from me caught on fire.
Okay.
And I saw, the family run out and the firefighters get there. And I always wondered, throughout the years of me growing up, what is making somebody want to go into a house that's in flames
mm-hmm.
while everybody else is running out?
Yeah.
I said, it must be crazy, right?
Right.
And I didn't understand it until I did. I said, I have to find out. Then I did it, and yeah, it's not necessarily the adrenaline, but using your skills at 2, 3 in the morning when you're barely waking up, or, that's what I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the best of your abilities when time hits you, when you're okay, now's the time for me to do this.
Yeah. So how did you start with this? Did you, I guess, how does one become a firefighter?
So there's a couple places here in Austin you can take a fire academy. Usually they're about 6 months long. I know ACC has one. So you go to, get your fire academy done. You test out, get your license, or you can't get your license until you do your EMT basic, which is some places it's 3 months, 6 months. So it's about a year total.
Hmm.
Then you apply for your licensing, and yeah, you get certified. Then you apply to whichever city you want to work for. You can work for the city itself, or like I work for a county based. So we're like privatized fire department.
Hmm.
We don't work. We work with the city, but we don't work for the city.
I see. So the city sort of like contracts you all
Basically,
for them. Okay. So as a part of the that you said you get EMT certified first. So I guess that gives you sort of like knowledge on how to take care of like injured people who are. Is that right? Or
yeah. So with your EMT, you can help like basic life saving stuff.
hmm.
Stop bleeds and just limited amount. But yeah, you it gives you enough knowledge to make a difference because 80% of your calls in the fire industry are medical. So
Mm,
that's why they push for the medical licensing.
gotcha. I don't think I realized that 80% of the calls are medical. So you said the other 20% is actually like fighting fires and things like that, but most of it is medical
Medical.
training. Really?
Most of it's medical, yeah. And the few fire calls are probably fire alarms. So you could go to wrecks, you could go, get cats from trees.
Hmm.
It could be anything. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So is there so there's that training and that knowledge. Is there like I don't know, every time I think of firefighter, I think of like you got to be able to carry buckets of water and hoses and you got to be super fit cuz you've got just like massive amounts of like protection on as well and you're moving through like smoky environments where you can barely breathe. What's the training like from like a physical aspect?
for me, I do more. I try to work more on my cardio. The
Okay.
more stamina you have, the better.
Mhm.
So a lot of people do a lot of weights. They're like, oh, I'm gonna, gain 20 pounds of just muscle because I want to gain the muscle mass. And you also got to work out your heart. Like, you have to have that stamina to be able to work throughout a fire
Mhm.
and not, you know, fall over. So
Yeah. So is there like a specific amount of like training that the department makes you go through, or is it really self-driven on how like trained up you need to be?
we have to do about an hour of exercise per 24 hours. So if I work 2 days straight and I
Mhm.
get 4 days off. So I work 2 hours, a little bit over 2 hours. I'll work out, and then I'll rest on my rest days, and
Mhm.
then one day off. When I'm off shift, I'll work out again.
I see. And what's the you just mentioned like your shifts. It sounds like firefighters work, a non-traditional 9 to 5 job. Can you share more about what your hours look like?
Yeah, of course. So when I first started, we worked 24 hours on, and we were off for 48 hours. So
Mhm.
one day on, 2 days off. Recently, I think 2 years ago, we switched to 48 on, 96 off. So we work 2 days on, and we're off four.
Oh my God. So whenever you're on 48 hours, what does that mean? Like, are you getting to sleep at all, or how does that work?
So it depends. With COVID,
Mhm.
COVID made us not sleep. We were in and out of the station. Sometimes we would come back. Uh, but ultimately, we do from like honestly from 8 to 5. We'll do our chores, or if we have to visit any schools, or do any kind of training, we'll do it then. After 5, it's our free time. We'll have dinner, and some of us will study, or um, yeah, we'll go to sleep.
Mhm.
And then if we get a call, our tones will go off, our lights will turn on, so we know we have a call, and we'll go.
All right. Yeah, so that's when you like do you have like the firefighter pole that you go shooting down and then like hustling into your truck and everything? Is that realistic from what you see on TV?
Basically, yeah. So we have 90 seconds from the time the tones go off until we're able to leave the station.
Mhm.
So we have to get dressed, we have to get ready and leave.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, it could be any time of the day and doesn't matter. It's happened to a lot of us where we're in the shower,
Mhm.
and we come out all soapy and with our clothes half on. But
So, like, have you gotten used to that? Is that because that's so, I don't know, it's so different than, folks that, especially now with COVID, right? Everyone works from home and, they just mosey, at least for us, right? Like, we just mosey downstairs, like, log on to our computer when we can. There's no, like, rush to it. But do you get used to that, like, feeling in these hours?
I say you get used to it with a good balance. Obviously, I used to work a lot. Like I would work a lot, so my my sleep schedule was very off. And I
Hmm.
became very angry, but you have to balance yourself with how much hours you put in at work and how much you don't sleep,
Hmm.
with how much you spend with your family and how much, like, even alone time, like time for yourself to kind of recuperate from it. So yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah, yeah. So are there, so like that's something that I, never really understood was just like the hours that, or knew about was the hours that firefighters put in. Are there like parts of the firefighting industry that like people, like the general population might not know about?
We always have our doors open, like for us at least. We welcome anybody to come by if they have any questions. We rather them come to us, or if they're not feeling okay,
Hmm.
we have just a handful of people just show up and like, hey, come check my blood pressure. I feel like this. We're there for a reason. We're there for the community. If they need anything at all, we're there.
Hmm.
If we don't know how to do something, we will point them in the right direction. We do anything from changing smoke detector batteries to training them on smoke detectors and checking them, um, because that helps us in the
Hmm.
long run. Because if it doesn't work, then their house catches on fire, and that's more work for us than teaching them about fire.
Yeah, I didn't know firefighters did that. Like, I would never imagine that, like, I could hit you up to help me with my smoke detector.
Yeah,
I always feel like it's an emergent, like, if I need something, then I'm calling for help.
no, you can always call. For us, it's a lot easier to get on the ladder and change those out than be at a house fire for 6 7 hours.
Hmm.
So we love to do it. We love to educate people. That's one of the biggest things I think for us is we push education to the community. Like,
Hmm.
huge. It's huge for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like occasionally I feel like schools and neighborhoods will call the firefighters out to bring the fire truck into the neighborhood and I don't know, just for people to like get to know the firefighters and just like see a cool fire truck. And it sounds like you do some of that too.
Yeah, we love to wash it and have it ready.
Hmm.
We've done birthday parties at the station for kids. We've gone to elementary schools for like their water day and squirted them with a water hose, of
No
course.
way.
And we love their interaction with kids. And for us and my crew and actually the whole department is if we even change one of their lives to want to become like us or point them in the right direction, like that's all we're about.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to circle back to 8-year-old you who wanted to be a firefighter and saw, people doing that. What's the mentality that you have now running into a home using those skill sets? Like, yeah, what are you thinking about and like what keeps you motivated?
I always think about, honestly, like I'll have my headset on in the back or if I'm driving or whatever, and I tell the guys, we're coming home tonight or something similar, So we have that positive mindset that we're looking forward to.
Hmm.
And once we get there, within seconds, we already know our assignments, what we're doing. I can't describe it because it's such a great feeling.
Hmm.
Not necessarily, fighting fire because somebody's house is just completely lost, but it's more of how we get to use our skills and we have each other also to kind of fall back on if we don't know or if we fall, honestly, or if we hurt ourselves. So it's such a good community to be in.
Yeah. I think the other part is like you're dealing with so much risk. How do you go about mitigating risk, preparing for it? Like, what are some of the things that you all do to, optimize your performance?
So one thing that we do that we really push on is uh, after every incident, we talk about it.
Okay.
Not necessarily that same day, but unless it's like mental health concerns, uh, we will talk about it and say, okay, what could we have done better? What can we do better for next time? And if it's something that somebody hasn't done before, then we work on it.
Hmm.
But we each have our assigned roles, and we also try to learn everybody else's roles, so we kind of know, okay, this person didn't do this, and let me help out here. But we train pretty regularly on our simple skills like throwing ladders or pulling hose, and a lot of that training we do it repetitively for our new guys, but we do it more for ourselves as well to
Hmm.
stay on track with how we're doing things.
Yeah, that makes sense because it sounds like with that repetition and with that practice, it sounds like you would rely more on instinct at that point rather than like, I don't know, trying to problem solve in the moment. So the more reps that you've gotten in, you can save that mental space and mental energy to address sort of the niche scenarios of like the uniqueness of each situation you're going into.
Yes, every scenario is different, but yeah, you get so much repetition that you know which failures you've had before, and you're like, okay, I messed up here. I'm not gonna do this again, or this is what happened, and this is how I can get out of it.
Yeah. Do you have any like memorable stories as a firefighter?
Um, we've done quite a bit. I think within my first couple of years in my department, I did so much,
Hmm.
like so many traumatic calls and so many lives we saved. Um, for me, I enjoy the moments when people come back and they're like, "Oh, you saved, my husband, or you saved my wife, or whatever," and
Hmm.
they come, they take a picture with us, and we're all crying, our eyes are all red, but
Wow.
we enjoy those moments so much. Um, yeah, we try to reach out to them and see how they're doing. Obviously, when a lot of calls are like hit us,
Hmm.
especially with like kids. For me, a lot of us have kids, so
Yeah.
any calls with kids, we try to get in touch with the families and see how they're doing. Anything that we can do to help them. And yeah, our community is very close, not just the fire department, but we're close with all the citizens there. Like,
Hmm.
because a lot of them grew up with a lot of our kids,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Man, that's crazy to think about. Because, I mean, I used to work in like a hospital setting where, there are scenarios where things are life or death, but now I work in healthcare tech. And I think when we joined, a lot of our executives are like, look, these are not life or death scenarios. Like, you don't need to be too worried about things, but the stakes are high. It sounds like they're like really great moments. And then there are moments that are like really hard. And like, how do you go about handling and dealing with those different moments?
Well, honestly, like the bad moments
Hmm.
happen one on top of the other because that's just the nature of things. It's just when one bad thing happens, it just keeps piling on. But I try to take time for myself. This is just me speaking. I I do a lot of like meditating, a lot of journaling. Another thing that I've enjoyed was opening the ketamine clinics
Hmm.
and seeing how many people are getting the benefit from that.
Okay.
And that's my joy. I'm like, okay, this is my hobby. I like helping people, and this is helping myself go through
Hmm.
things. So by telling people, okay, these are the right things that you need to do along with ketamine treatment, I'm like, okay, I can't be, you know, telling them one thing and I'm not practicing it myself. So it kind of gives me that reminder to do it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you firefight during most days, and then you said you got paramedic training as well. Was that before or after your firefighting?
I did my fire, and then I went to paramedic school afterwards.
Okay, so what did that allow you to do, or what kind of skills did that give you?
I wanted to go to paramedic school just because that opens up a lot more opportunity for me to help somebody.
Hmm.
And you can intubate, you can help somebody with pain. Um, and just like the fire industry, where there's the unpredictable and thinking off your feet, you
Hmm.
can do that in medicine as well in the back of an ambulance, which I enjoy as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, we can treat anything from pain to, somebody having a panic attack, uh, just anything
So
really.
you work both in fire trucks and in ambulances.
Yes. So
Okay.
I'm pretty grateful with our department because we have our own EMS and fire,
Mm,
and we can alternate however we want. A lot of departments are either fire only and contract out their EMS systems.
I see.
Big cities do that. Some big cities, not all of them.
Yeah, I didn't realize that there are folks that work both. I always thought of them as like mutually exclusive, like two different services, two different teams of people. But it sounds like there are people like you that kind of straddle the line and work on both sides.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's fun knowing that you're on one day and you have 8 guys with you,
Hmm.
so they're not gonna let you fail.
Right.
Um, and you're also there to help them out whenever they're in leadership roles, like being lead medic, and they have to make a decision, and you're like, okay, wait, let's try this first, or sure, let's do it. You know, you have my approval of this.
Uh-huh.
We work more as a team than I'm in charge of this, and I'm in charge of this. Like, we work as a team. It's all about the community, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So can you compare and contrast like the experience of like being on a fire truck and working on that team versus being in an ambulance, and what is that experience like? Are they pretty similar, or like how are they different?
They're pretty similar. In fire, I feel like you're more exposed to hurting yourself.
Hmm.
Uh, In the ambulance, you are exposed to hurting yourself, or people can hurt you while they're on your stretcher. But um, in fire, you have to like see all around you at all times,
Hmm.
especially when you can't see. Like
Right.
knowing where everything is, or knowing where the exit is at, um, knowing what's in a building. So uh, sometimes like fire industry can be a little bit scary just because of that.
Yeah, yeah, I can only imagine. Did you say people can hurt you while they're on the stretcher?
Yeah, we've had some that bite. We've had people
Are
that
you
spit.
serious?
Mhm.
What?
Yeah, it happens. People that have needles in their pockets, like it can be pretty rough sometimes.
Wow, I would have never imagined. I would have figured that like if you're going out on a stretcher that like you're like take me away, like, thank you
No,
so much.
yeah, no. Sometimes the cops will pull them over or something, and they're like, "Hey, they're not acting right," and they might be on drugs or they might be on something that they're not very conscious of what they're doing, and we're always like, "Hold on,"
Hmm.
like we take precautions all the time because of that.
Yeah. Is your family like, I don't know, my family's pretty, they think about my job and like he's safe. He's at home, he's chilling, things are gonna be fine. What is your family like? Are they just worried about you all the time or what do they think?
Yeah, so my mom's in Nicaragua, and she'll randomly message me like at 1 in the morning sometimes during the week. She's like, "Please be careful." And I could be sleeping, and and she's like, "Be careful," and I'm like, "Mom, I'm off," or
Yeah.
something. But she's like, "I know what you have to deal with," and
Hmm.
I don't tell her any stories at all because of that.
Yeah.
I used to. I used to tell her all the bad stories, like, "Mom, I did this," or this happened. She's like, "I'm never gonna sleep in my whole life thanks to you."
Yeah. She's like so stressed and
Yeah,
so I can only imagine because like as a parent, you're always like you're thinking of the worst case scenarios, right? Like they're always like this could totally happen and you'll end up getting hurt or whatever. And so I can only imagine your mom could just be it would be so worried about you.
right. Yeah, she's always been worried. She's always messaging me like, "Hey, be careful. Make sure you eat right. Make sure you get some sleep," because she knows I don't sleep much.
Uh-huh.
She's like, "Make sure you sleep. Make sure you take a vacation." I'm like, "Yes, mom."
Yeah. So Nicaragua, I guess, has your mom always been there? Are you from there?
My mom came over here in '88, I believe,
Hmm.
and she just recently retired. So
Nice.
she has her own home out there, and she wanted to move back. All her family's there, sisters, brothers, cousins.
Hmm.
Only my sister and I are here in Austin. So she said, "Oh, I want to spend time with my family since you already have your family." So
You all immigrated here in the
yeah,
80s?
my mom and my dad did. And then I think about 15 years ago, they both got their citizenship. They were
Nice.
residents for a while, and then they got the citizenship. So
Hmm. It is such a process because, yeah, like Kelly's family's been doing the green card process for like 14 years now, and they just got their green card after that. Like, it's such a long and taxing process.
it is a long time. Yeah, my parents spent, I think, 10 years until they had their green card. And then, you know, it takes another like 10, 15 years for them to
Hmm.
get their citizenship. So, yeah, she was pretty grateful. She took pictures and everything, of course, and
Yeah, of course.
she loved it.
So were you born in the US?
I was born in California.
Okay, and then you moved to Austin later on.
Yeah, right after 9/11, they had just gotten their green card actually, and then we moved here right after 9/11 because
Hmm.
job security wasn't there for them in California. A lot of them plummeted, and Austin was a new and coming city, so we moved here.
Nice, 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 nice. Okay, so um, firefighting academy, paramedic. Then you met some folks and you started opening clinics. Like, tell me more about that. How does one like? Is this something that you were always wanting to do, or how did this come about?
So that's interesting that you asked. I honestly like went through my own mental health problems within the fire department. So I wasn't sleeping. A lot of, like I say, bad calls would add up,
Yeah.
and I really wasn't taking care of myself. I was just going on with it and not seeking the help. So then I think I was at the right place at the right time, and I learned a lot with the first person that we opened the clinic with. So that helped push my focus to like Scout and Harker Heights. That we our focus is veterans and first responders, and
Hmm.
I can speak about how it helped me and how grateful I am for the medicine itself.
What is Scout?
That's the clinic, and
That's the clinic name.
that's a clinic name.
Oh, okay, nice. So is it what kind of clinic is it?
Ketamine.
Oh, it's a ketamine clinic. Okay, so what was your first exposure to ketamine? Like, how did you learn about it? And then, like, I guess one doesn't just like, oh, like
Like it just falls in.
I'm gonna open a ketamine
Yeah.
clinic. Like, tell me more about that.
So yeah, so I worked with a physician in surgery for a while, and he wanted to open the clinic, and he opened it, and then I ended up working for him. Left the hospital, worked for him for a little bit while I was at the fire department, and I managed it. And I wanted to do something for people who couldn't afford it or people who were very impacted by it.
Hmm.
I just didn't know how. Right? I had all these great ideas, and that's where I met Sherry and at the same clinic. And she's like, I want to do the same thing. Like my dad was a veteran. So I said, we could do this. So then I've been going to school for like public emergency management. So it's a lot of administrative stuff that we get to learn. And yeah, we just decided to do it one day. We're like, we're just going to do it.
Yeah.
And, we struggled, but it was good. We got to see how we can become better. And every day we're like, okay, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. Like we get to talk to each other a lot just to motivate us. And, we make a difference with just a couple people that we've seen. We're like,
Mhm.
all right, I am so happy with the results.
Yeah. So I've tried to study entrepreneurship. It's something that I'm really interested in and that I love people that are entrepreneurs because it's like it takes just like a certain amount of like drive and ambition and risk taking that like really just gets me excited. And like typically entrepreneurs are solving a problem, right? Like that's what businesses are about. They're solving a problem. So as I've been studying entrepreneurship, one thing that consistently comes up is this idea of co-founders and people who are complementary in skill sets. There are groups like Y Combinator. They're like a startup accelerator for like software companies. But essentially, like if you have a business idea and you don't have a co-founder, one of the very first things that they'll tell you to do is go find somebody that's going to be your co-founder. Because what I've heard and what I've learned is that entrepreneurship is or like building a business is a lot. So you want somebody not only who complements your skill sets, but also can hold you accountable and push you and sharpen your ideas and bounce ideas off of. So it sounds like you and Cherry have a great working relationship, but how did you go about like deciding that, because you also hear about co-founders that like butt heads and then it
Clash.
doesn't work out. So like how did you go about evaluating or like just understanding if you guys would be complementary?
For me, it was more the fact that she wanted to make a difference.
Mm.
And it wasn't about making a dollar. It wasn't, uh, it was the fact that it was just humanly love. Like she wanted to make a difference. And that's something that money can't really buy. Like
Mhm.
I can't say, oh, I'll be as happy from helping somebody or I'm going to be happier from getting $1 million. Like I'd rather help somebody.
Mhm.
So she had that same mindset. And I think that's what pushed us through, and we have a little bit of money. She's like, oh, we can pay us extra. And we decided, we're like, you know what, we're going to continue going. And we explore more ideas. Like right now we have, we're going to start a nonprofit for those that can't afford it. We're just finishing the touches and having a criteria for people that can apply for it because
Mhm.
we have some that are very wealthy that want to donate money, but at the moment they can't do that.
Mhm.
So
That makes sense. I think that's a great point, like aligning on principles and motives and what's driving you. Because if you have two different priorities, like one person's trying to make money and the other one's trying to do a service, then I can see how that clashes. But it sounds like you all are aligned on just that like core factor of why you're in business together.
definitely, yeah. And I'd throw out the idea all the time, like, hey, we should post it on our website that we're going to open more clinics and we're able to help other people open clinics, that have the same principles. And she's like, let's do it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think that's the driving factor for me is knowing that she's not there to make a dollar. I'm not
Mhm.
there to make a buck. We want to keep the business going. So we're there.
Yeah.
Um, it's really rewarding.
Yeah. What was the process of like opening your first clinic? Like walk me through Julio at that time, what he was thinking, what he was doing.
Honestly, like during that time when we said we're going to do it, it took, I think about 2.5 weeks
Oh,
for
wow.
for us to like find well, we were looking for a place for quite a while and then we couldn't find anything we wanted. So that was the toughest part. Once we knew we had a place, she drove up there and found one and I said, you like it, I like it. let's go for it. It didn't take me much to finish all the policies, protocols, and submit that. I said, hey, what do you think about this? And it was probably about 20, 30 pages that she read, and she's like, I like it, let's go.
Wow.
So it was pretty fast after we knew we had a location, we knew what we wanted to do. It was pretty fast.
Yeah, that's really fast. So you're a firefighter and paramedic. I guess, how do those skills translate into business, entrepreneurship, building policies, building systems, building processes?
They really don't. No, but for me, it's the fact that I got to learn something new and I got to put it to play, like with school and learning, emergency management and all those administrative skills. I said, I want to try this. So then that's what I enjoyed too. I said, it's something new. Firefighting's there, being paramedics there. We get a lot of repetitive calls. So
Yeah.
I said, let me explore this as well. But I like it because it's like they both kind of come hand in hand to me. And they mean a lot to me because I've suffered from mental health issues and, obviously because of being a paramedic or being a firefighter, that I've seen a lot of things and I've gotten a lot of help through, ketamine clinics and I am very grateful for it. So
Wow. That's amazing that, like, I don't know, you found ketamine to be so helpful, and now you're not only like, I guess one of the things I love about entrepreneurship is that, I guess, similar to firefighting, right? And this to me is kind of like healthcare. Like, I had taken the MCAT, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and I think firefighting and physicians are pretty similar in their sense that they make really deep impact on one person, one family at a time. But what I like about, I work in healthcare tech now, but what I like about software and things like that is you can make broader impact with a lot of people. Maybe not as more, maybe more shallow, but I like the breadth of the impact that you can make. And it sounds like you've got this mix of like deep impact as a firefighter, but also like scaling ketamine clinics and broader impact to communities and things like that as well.
definitely. And, we're always exploring on how we can make it accessible for everyone,
Mhm.
everyone that needs it, obviously, but it's something that we love. We absolutely love. And we've seen, I've seen personally about, I don't know, 6, 7,000 patients that have gotten relief from it.
Mhm.
Veterans, first responders, everybody. Like I've seen many, many people come through and they leave so much happier within just a couple weeks.
Yeah. So you shared that, you're not really in this for the money, right? You're really in this to serve others. What I learned in grad school and in business school is no margin, no mission. So like if you don't make money, you can't keep serving people. So how do you balance that, and what's that been like for you?
I'm grateful that I make pretty good money at the fire department and I'm able to not take money from the clinic right now.
Mhm.
And it's helping me realize that I can scale out even more, like you said. Like we're able to offer more services. Like we have weight loss now. We're gonna have vitamins soon. Like we're able
Mhm.
to add more services, and we're gonna add more employees and this and that. So having the fire department kind of supplement enough income for me
Yeah.
to be able to do that, I'm very grateful.
Yeah. So how many locations do you have now?
Just the one in Harker
So
Heights.
the one in Harker Heights. Okay. What are the are you are you gonna add another location, or what's the game plan?
That's the plan. I have another one that may be coming up soon, but those are still talks. We still
Yeah.
gotta sign contracts and do all that. But yeah, I've had a couple people reach out to me. One in Houston, a friend in Dallas. They're like, "Hey, I want tell me about this. Let's do it. I'll help
Mhm.
you." And um, so we have that. But I am very I want to get this going and making sure that this clinic is well taken care of, so then I can scale out and making sure those are taken care of as well. Not just bouncing one from that
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not doing
yeah.
anything at that point.
Yeah, you wanna focus your energies and get it settled before you sort of jump and take the next project on.
Definitely.
Yeah, so do you see yourself, like, always sort of, like, as a firefighter, or would you ever see yourself, like, working full time on ketamine clinics and building those out?
I've had the talks with Brittany about that.
Uh-huh.
She wants me home obviously every night, but I want to bring as much knowledge about mental health to the fire service, to first responders. It's just unfortunate with this stigma that's been there for such a long time, and breaking that has been hard. But
Mhm.
my departments have been pushing that, and we have free therapists now on call. We have peer support team. We have a policy now about mental health. So those changes are happening, and I want them to keep happening throughout first responders, not just one department, And
Yeah.
I enjoy that. I love that part. So I don't know. I think eventually I will have to leave because my body's taking a beating, but
Uh-huh.
and I'd be happy with the ketamine clinic, I think,
Yeah,
or,
yeah,
or
yeah.
scaling that out. My next project right now is finishing school. I'm going to go to do counseling.
No way.
So I may start that next spring.
Wow. So you're really growth oriented. Like you're just following whatever excites you and where you feel like you're gonna grow the most.
Definitely. And like I said, it's all about helping people. And I've done that in the fire service, but I know at some point my body's not going to take it.
Yeah.
So I want to have that available for people, but in a different sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said, oh, I'll continue going to school and, become a therapist and hopefully later on do psychedelic therapy, which I think is going to be huge soon.
Yeah.
MDMA's stage 3 just got approved through FDA. So, it's right around the corner.
I've never thought about like, since being a fighter is so taxing on your body and it almost reminds me of like the NBA, right? Like there's sort of this like curve of like once you hit 40, like it's gonna be pretty hard to like keep doing this career. Is that do you, I guess what's the average age? Like what do people typically transition to?
So a lot of people go into nursing school, surprisingly. They'll go become a paramedic and then there's like a bridge program for a year and you become a nurse and then you work, 12-hour shifts. But for most departments, I think there's like a retirement level. So about 20 years is usually where people just end up leaving or become chiefs and then now they're behind a desk Monday through Friday, 8 to
Mm,
5. So it just depends on what they decide.
I see.
With like an emergency management degree, you can become a city manager, or you can become part of the city council. So
Yeah. So you've got lots of options then.
yeah, lots of
Yeah.
options. But yeah, I think I'm gonna continue seeking the therapy. I think that's what's my calling now, and I'm excited. I have
Yeah.
a great support team that is rooting me to do this, so I'm excited.
What's been the hardest part of entrepreneurship for you?
The unknown, the
Yeah.
unknown if after a 3-year contract, if you're still gonna be open, or if anybody's gonna come in,
Hmm.
anybody's gonna call. That's been the tough part, I think. Just being positive.
Yeah. Is that how you manage through it? Is just positivity, or are there other things that I don't know that you do to help you navigate that?
I try to be positive most of the time, but yeah, I'll have my time where I feel negative, but I'll write down positive things about it when I feel down or feel negative about it. I'll write positive things and say, okay, this is going right. This is going right. We've helped
Hmm.
this amount of people. Um, I'm pretty much a nerd, so I created a spreadsheet and I have the outcome of my patients that we have seen, and then
Yeah.
I look at those numbers. I'm like, cool. We've seen 10 patients, 15 patients, and we have 80-90% success rate in these aspects that we're looking at. So
Yeah. So like Brittany was on the last podcast episode and she had talked about the ketamine clinic that she works at. She's, like a clinical director. She talked about there being other clinical staff, but also guides that walk people through the entire experience. How are you building out the ketamine clinic? Who works there? What's the experience look like? Is it similar to what Brittany does, or how's it different?
so our clinics are actually different. They're
Okay.
completely different. Hers is more of a shamanic approach, which is pretty cool for those that are welcoming that. Like if
Hmm.
they're welcoming, if you understand psychedelic medicine and the benefits and everything, and you're ready for it, it's perfect. Um, for us, we decided to do more of a clinical approach because a lot of people don't have any psychedelic approaches to their mental health or they have never tried it at all. So it's a good start for them to kind of get their feet wet and then scale out to that. So for us, it's just me and Sherry for now until we can scale out. But we do, patients come in and we tell them we want you to, do meditation, go to the gym, do these things, journal, and they come, we prepare them, start an IV, and give them the medicine through there.
So it's
And
just you and Sherry right now?
just us two.
Holy cow. So you do your 48-hour firefighter shift and then you run over to the clinic afterwards?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. So we're open 2 days a week right now. Yeah, that's what it's like. I mean, and we reach out to patients right after their
Mhm.
sessions. We stay in contact with them for quite a few days and time. Like we'll message them once a month at least if it's been a while.
How do people decide, or how do people find you, I guess?
So we have all the social media
Hmm.
stuff, which I had to get on myself because I
Uh-huh.
hadn't done it in so long. I said, let me try it. But we're on social media. Also, we've met with about 35 different psychiatrists, therapists in the area.
Hmm.
And we dropped off business cards. We told them what we're about and, our mission, our focus. And they've been pretty good about sending us patients who are not getting the help that they need,
Hmm.
with just therapy. So they'll send patients over and we communicate with them on how they're doing and, we'll go just their parameters of how they've grown and how, their whole outcome.
Yeah, so Brittany had shared that hers is like, I don't know, it's like multiple weeks, right? Like 6 weeks or so, multiple sessions. Is your like what's the experience like for someone that goes to the scout program?
So for us, we do about 6 infusions if you haven't had one. And then we kind of reevaluate at the fifth one where we evaluate how you're doing. If
Hmm.
you may need more, we'll suggest that you do more, recommend that you do more, and we could do like 3 more after that. But we try to do those 6 within 3 weeks. Obviously, people's schedule varies, and we use a lot of research that we've found, a lot of conferences that we've gone to. So
Yeah. What is that experience like? Like is there a typical trend or phases that people go through from week, 1 through 2 versus 4 through 6 or so?
yeah, definitely. So some people get relief right after the first one, and they're like, "Holy crap! Like this is amazing. I feel so much better, so much weight off my shoulders." Um, but somewhere in the middle, there's gonna be a part where they take a dip, where it's like more sadness and more, not being sure about the treatment, not being sure about themselves or what they're doing. But we just tell them trust in us. But we tell them all this before they even start. We're like, "This is what you're gonna expect," that we've seen in the past. Um, just believe in us,
Hmm.
and we believe in you. We're here for you. So having that trust that the patient has in us is probably one of the best things that, for their own outcome.
Yeah.
And it's pretty rewarding too.
Yeah, I bet that's got to be really rewarding when people go through it and they find success and you're able to relate to that success.
Definitely. Yeah. And the other thing is like we can both speak about our own experiences and how we've become better because of it,
Hmm.
which I think, you know, there's not this dynamic of patient and person taking care of you where, you know, people used to say, "Oh my God, like they're not doing that. They're perfect." Like,
Hmm.
no, we're human beings as well. And we've gone through, the ringer. So,
Yeah. That's so fascinating because, like, when I think about entrepreneurship, right, like you're solving a problem, but it's also, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they realize that no one's solving this problem. Like, I have this problem, and they go about trying to like solve it for themselves first, and then they go and try to solve it for someone else. And I think, like, that to your point, right, like that makes you so much more relatable, right? Rather than like, I'm the guru, I've never experienced before, like, here's what's gonna help you. It's like, oh no, like I was in your shoes, like I know exactly what it was, exactly what it was like, and that's why I'm on this journey to like help other people solve a problem that I had to solve for myself.
right. And for me, I was already managing the first clinic and I had never tried it. And I felt bad because I was telling people, "Oh, yeah, you're going to feel great. You're going to feel amazing." And I was still battling my own issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "You know what? I'm going to do it." And I
Mm-hmm.
just did it. And it totally changed my experience. Um, Even with my patient care became so much better. Time with my son became so much better too. I had so much patience. Like I wasn't stressed out. It just helped so much.
Is that the primary benefit of ketamine?
Yeah. So for me, it was more PTSD. A lot of calls, like I told you, were pretty bad to
Mm-hmm.
where my sleep schedule was off. A lot of those things I was able to work through with ketamine. Some
Mm-hmm.
of the things that I wouldn't even remember, but I guess subconsciously I had them back there. Through ketamine treatments, it would come up again, like not through the treatment, but a couple of days after.
Mm-hmm.
I would think about the calls or this and that, and it would give me a different perspective on, okay, so when this person died and I saw that, instead of thinking it that way, I was able to think of it as I did everything I could for this person within my knowledge, and anything that anybody could do,
Hmm.
I worked in the same way that they would. So I wasn't as hard to myself then.
Yeah. I haven't experienced ketamine before. And I guess for those who maybe haven't, like, I mean, this might be really hard to describe, right? Like what that's like and like what causes that shift. But are you able to, like, I don't know, add more color to when you're on ketamine treatment, what happens versus, or what you feel and what you perceive versus when you're not, and like what that sort of facilitates?
Yeah. So, like I said, for me, it was the fact that I was able to see things differently,
Okay.
right? My perspective was different on many, many things. Um, but during the treatment, kind of surrendering to it is one of the most beneficial things you can do. Letting it take you where it's going to take you. If you feel like there's no relief at that moment or it's not going to work, just let it work. Like
Mm.
just be a passenger. So I tell everybody, be a passenger in your own journey, and write down anything that comes to mind in the days after. Journal as much as you can. Take time for yourself. Be out in nature. Like, do a lot of self-care. A lot of us are stuck, like you said, 8 to 5,
Hmm.
and then kids, or you have family, or more struggles, or you have another job. You don't have time for any of that. But
Yeah.
putting time for yourself is so beneficial.
Yeah. You know how people are always like, I had this great idea in the shower. And you hear it over and over again. I'm like, what's so special about the shower? Why is that where people get some of their best ideas? And I think it's for a lot of people, it's one of the few parts in the day where they're disconnected from the outside world. They're sort of like just with them and their thoughts, and their mind sort of just running free. And there's a sensory part of it as well. But it sounds like a part of ketamine treatment is this time to just like process things, like time where you're not so stimulated to where you're not able to process it, or your like mind can't focus on these things.
Right. You have like a disconnection from the outside world, and it's just you and your thoughts and everything that's happened to you. Maybe it's not coming up at that time, but you have time to slow down.
Hmm.
You like everything's disconnected. It's just you.
Yeah.
And for a lot of us, like that focus hasn't been there or wasn't there a long time ago. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So you've had quite the journey where you've had sort of like at each step gone and pursued something else that you're interested in. Um, I guess if you could go back to a younger Julio, like would what advice would you give to your younger self?
Just to be positive and let it come. No matter what it is, just do it.
Uh-huh.
Don't. Part of the things that I struggled with was second guessing myself, and I think till maybe 3 years ago, I struggled with myself with what I wanted to do and what it is that I was doing. And from that moment on, I've been like, this is what I'm doing, and nothing will stop me. Like,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. So how do you get to that sort of like like belief in yourself, like that sort of determination and belief? Did you feel like it grew over time, or um, I don't know? How do you shift your mindset to that? Because it's such a stark difference.
it is different. And I think from so many failures that I said, you know what, nothing is stopping me at this point. And I think it happened with like, I ran a 10K and I had never been a runner. And I said, I'm going to try it,
Uh huh.
right at the 5K mark. I said, I can't do it. I just kept pushing myself. I just got to keep moving. But that focus, I've used it throughout this time. No matter what I do, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because I think over time, right, like your identity is, you anchor it back to these experiences that you've had where, maybe you overcame a really hard challenge. And when you overcome that, you're able to reflect back and in the moment be like, I overcame that other problem. Like I'm gonna overcome this one too. And I think, yeah, sounds like you've got the Mamba mentality,
Yeah,
or so to
definitely the
say.
mama mentality. Wake up early and go to sleep late. That's how I'm at the station. I'm the first one up. I'm the last one to go to bed. And my guys are like, go to bed.
Go to
You've done enough. I'm
bed.
like, no, I can still do this. I can do this. I can do like, I just like having things in order, and like, I don't know. I enjoy what I do. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, for those that are maybe like interested in a career as a firefighter or a paramedic, um, I guess what should they consider? Who's the career for? Who might be a good fit for this kind of work?
For firefighting, anybody that wants to really help it, another person, uh, it's a lot of work physically, but it's not impossible.
Mhm.
Schoolwork's not very, very hard. And I mean, you get to work with a bunch of guys or women, in the same service who have the same mindset, which is pretty cool. For us, it's like we're all roommates. We get to play video games. We get to eat together, so it's pretty fun at times. We do go through hard times together. We have holidays together sometimes. We're on shift. 1/3 of our lives is with each other, so
Yeah.
we make the best of it. But anybody that wants to do something physical, I mean, there's some fun parts about firefighting, like breaking through doors, windows, and
Yeah.
some of the not so fun things are like trying to get a cat that you don't know off a tree, and
Yeah.
it's like scratching you. So
I didn't know that was a real thing. That's so
those things
funny. Yeah, you
happen.
see it in cartoons and you're like, ah, okay, whatever. But
No, it's happened like 3 times to me where I'm getting attacked by a cat that does not want to come down.
That's funny. Well, I really appreciate you just joining me and sharing your story. I learned so much. Like I had no idea, the things that firefighters go through, the mental health challenges that, come with the job and that are a part of it. But I love that you have seek growth for yourself so that, both so that you can be better and also to serve others. But now you're helping to scale a solution that's also going to equip people to do similar work. And I just love that you're so driven and so motivated, um, and that motivation comes from the service of other people. So really
Definitely.
appreciate all that you do, and just thank you to you and your colleagues who serve us. And I always think back to American Ninja Warrior. I just
Yes.
like vividly remember this scene where this girl was like introducing her dad, who's a firefighter, and she said, "Your dad, or my dad is who your dad calls when he needs help." And I was like, "Damn, that's really good.
That's pretty cool.
That's really good." And I was like, "That's so true." And so, just so thankful and so grateful for your service and people like you who have dedicated their lives to being there to support others, in some of their hardest moments.
Definitely. We love what we do. I mean, we wouldn't do it otherwise, but we love making the difference, even at the last moments of somebody's life. Like, it's just, I think what we enjoy is just being there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, best of luck, Julio, as you continue to grow your business and grow your career, and um, just looking forward to seeing the difference that you'll make in the community and the lives of those around you. So, cheers to that.
Definitely. Cheers to that.
Thanks again, Julio.
Thank you.